The third principle of adult learning that I'd like to talk about today, although we're not going to cover the in-depth of all of them, is that adults learn by doing. We need to make sure that our training includes active and practical participation for our learners. There are three different kinds of learners primarily, and those are audio, visual and kinesthetic. Now we're going to be looking at those a little bit later on, but this really refers to those kinesthetic learners. These are people that like to do stuff. They like to get their hands in, they like to get them dirty, and they like to have a go. They're like, stop talking to me, just let me get on with it. And I promise I'm going to let you get on with some stuff soon as well. So do we in our courses allow for this practical implementation of the skills and knowledge and theories and concepts and ideas that we're putting in front of our particular students? So there's a number of different ways that we can do this, and this certainly isn't exhaustive, but simulation is one way that we can do that. Now, one of the best ways to think of simulation is we might think of pilots, for instance, who before they actually go out and fly a plane, they sit in a machine very firmly on the ground that simulates the flying experience. So their chair moves the same way that an actual aeroplane would move. They have all of the controls as if they would actually have in a real aeroplane. And essentially the whole environment is set up to simulate the real experience as far as possible. So think about your particular course and your particular training. Now, this is obviously easier to do in a face-to-face training environment, but you can definitely still do this in an online learning environment. How can you get your learners to play, try, explore and learn in a simulated environment to the one in which they would actually have to implement the skills and competencies that you're teaching? So you can come up with scenarios, you can come up with case studies, you can come up with even work experience or work exercises. I mean, for instance, you could even send your learners out to their normal workplace if they're learning a skill in the workplace, and get other people to maybe write a report for them or fill out a quiz on their own development, and if they're learning to be a leader, for instance. What is their leadership skills like in the workplace? Perhaps they can demonstrate a particular skill that you've been teaching them. Now, if this is online, I don't know, perhaps you could get them to upload a video to a Facebook group of them doing this skill or trying out this particular task. That's always a cool and fun way of building a community. It might be that you need to get them to do imitations. So this is where one of the classic teaching styles comes into play, where the teacher demonstrates the correct method for doing something, then the student comes along, gives that a go, and basically replicates, repeats, imitates that particular method. The trainer then coaches them, corrects them on their way until the student can imitate that independently, autonomously, without any help, coaching or guidance. And another way that's fantastic for getting people to actively, practically apply the knowledge that you're teaching them is to get them to teach back. I'm going to show you something else a bit later on, which shows that we actually learn best when we have to be a teacher of that particular topic. So can you find a way of getting them to either present what they've learned, to demonstrate, or ideally to teach somebody else what they have learned as a result of your particular course? Fantastic way, number of different things here that you can try to implement in your course. Now this stuff doesn't necessarily have to be in every single module, but if you can fit some elements of practical and active participation from your students into your course at some point, then you will be meeting this principle of adult learning and will be keeping those doers nice and happy.